You solve problems an awful lot better if you have the commitment and intelligence of the workforce available to you as a company, and that you work in partnership with the workforce, and that the workforce knows that, you know, that their contribution isn't taken for granted, that it's properly respected and valued, and that in the end that they can, you know, be secure at work. It's depressing to see so many business leaders out there, you know, pretending that they are, you know, that they've achieved all of this because of their own wonderfulness, rather than recognizing the commitment of the workforce, the availability of supports from governments, you know, that what we need to have is a better business leadership in terms of saying, look, the way forward is that everybody succeeds, that everybody can, at the end of the day, they turn up, do a week's work, that you can have a life of dignity and respect, of opportunity, a career advancement, that you know that you'll be able to put a roof over your head, have a home, and provide for your family, and that the future isn't something that you're afraid of. I think there will be two legacies of this crisis for the future of work. I think one of those is that the argument that there are any low-skilled workers out there is finished. We can't call workers essential workers and then pretend that they're low-skilled. And we certainly can't pretend that cleaners are low-skilled because they're keeping everybody who turns up at work alive. We can't pretend that people who are working in shops, putting their lives on the line every day, are low-skilled workers. Essential workers have to be properly recognized, respected, and paid. And of course, the majority of essential workers, from carers to cleaners, is women workers. So I think one of the lasting legacies is going to be the re-evaluation of work that's predominantly done by women. The other lasting legacy of COVID is that once and for all of those employers who said, we can't possibly do telework, we now know the jobs that can be done by telework and the jobs that can't be done by telework. That's now asked and answered. But the question will be, how do we make sure that we keep all of the good parts of telework into the future, and we don't have to take on a lot of the bad parts of the telework because of the way in which we've all been forced to work at the moment. We would expect to see a guarantee that if you're working on telework, that you're not discriminated against, that you're not paid less. We see, you know, some employers unfortunately coming forward with that idea. Also, that the employer pays for the cost of telework, that you have the right to mix so that you don't have to choose one or the other, and that you have the right to return to the workplace after COVID. The biggest fear among a lot of workers for themselves and for their families is that the negative trajectory in some jobs of a growing precariousness and insecurity and fear, low pay, that isn't, you know, accelerated, and is, you know, when we come out of this, as I said, that there is a re-evaluation of their labour and a proper respect and value given to it. I think the work that Eurofound does is hugely important in setting out the facts of the situation that leads to much better policy making. Knowing all of those and knowing what the challenges are from the perception of the workers, but also from the perception of the employers, all of that is hugely helpful and informative. And of course, all of that only makes sense if you're taking it across a pan-European perspective. There needs to be a particular focus in the recovery funds on ensuring that at the end of the COVID crisis, that there is a sufficient infrastructure that supports, it would say, higher paid quality jobs, but also that the workforce, everybody has a chance to succeed.